Hi everyone, welcome back to Highly Inspired. I'm Ella.
I'm Jordan.
Hey guys,
We're
hello.
back.
We're back. Hi.
We have a lot to cover today, and we're super excited. But before that, we wanted to show you guys something. We have a journal that we made this past year, and it's very customized to us, but it's also blank so that you can make it whatever you want it to be.
Yes.
And it's available on our website if you want to go to highlyinspiredpodcast.com. And
There's a special message in
special message
it.
inside.
Yeah, it's secret, so you have to purchase it in order to get our words of wisdom.
Yeah,
so,
it's not in Morse code or anything like that though. So
yeah.
but yeah, it's good because sometimes it's good to write stuff down. And with everything that's going on, you're scrolling through things, you're watching the news, you're seeing all of your friends' posts about opinions, and sometimes it's good to have your own and just express
Take some
yourself.
time for yourself.
Yeah, you don't always have to express yourself to other people, and on social media it can be just for you and to see your growth.
This will never get censored, is what we're trying to say.
Yes, that's
no one can steal this from you.
Yeah, your words are your words forever.
Yeah. So there you go. That's
Actually,
what it comes down to.
That's a good transition, Ella, because censorship was a pretty big topic that we wanted to talk about today.
Yeah, so this is gonna be a different style of a podcast. Some of our earlier episodes that we kind of retired and have taken down were more of this style. They were a little bit more casual, kind of us just ranting about different things and kind of just openly discussing it in real time. So we're gonna be taking you guys on that journey with us today.
Yeah, we pulled some things from that have occurred throughout the past 2 weeks. As much as 2020 felt like an eternity, so has January so far. And there's been a lot of big events in the political world, in the security world, in the health world. The pandemic is still not over yet. The vaccine is now being rolled out. A lot of people. I've already had some friends that have gotten it. One of my friends who's a nurse got it this morning. So yeah, there's lots of stuff going on. But we kind of wanted to focus on the more hot button, like random things.
Yeah, random things that you might not see like in the mainstream cycle, like things that are kind of within the big stories, but kind of side stories that have more of a hilarious kind of side take to it, because I think that we've been kind of caught up in the drama of everything, and it's good to have a little bit of humor when it comes to some of these kind of heavy topics.
Yeah, I agree.
Like whenever I see a headline that kind of makes me laugh for a second, it makes me feel better about everything.
It's refreshing. Yeah,
it's very therapeutic. So I thought we'd start off with an article from the New York Post, and the headline is "Rioter in Horned Helmet is refusing to eat non-organic food in jail." So for anyone that doesn't remember, this was back when, I think it was a week or 2 weeks ago, during the whole like Capitol riot situation, siege of the Capitol.
Yeah.
You had that main character that was in that full get-up costume with the horns and the face paint. And if you want a little parody on that, I would check out Tim Dillon's kind of impersonation of him. That was pretty funny. I showed it to Jordan.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, he's so talented.
Maybe we'll even throw in a part of that clip into this. I don't know. But yeah, he did a great impersonation of the guy. You'll get some great insight into the personality. And this guy's from Arizona, which is where we're from.
Yes, he was at wasn't he at some sort of
QAnon
Yeah,
convention?
he was at some sort he was like protesting something last year, even before the election. So I mean, we're from Arizona, so don't think that everybody's like that guy, or clearly don't look like him and would never dress like that.
No, but it's kind of an embarrassment to our state, because I feel like I saw even international articles that were like, Arizona man is finally arrested for Capitol siege.
It's just Arizona man.
And I'm like, oh gosh, like they probably think we're all idiots.
They're trying to be more specific than white man wearing horns or something. He is a character though. The whole presentation of him, and even just being at that protest as a protester, that would stand out, let alone like breaking into the Capitol. That's like a whole other
Well, there were
level.
videos of him like on the side of the road with like a dingy sign, like, but even before this, like even by himself, like just looking completely drugged out. And I did some research into him, and he claims that he's a shaman. but he
Uh-huh.
only deals with good spirits. So he's trying to battle like the evil spirits. I don't know.
Battling evil spirits, okay.
Yeah.
By going to protests and
And
riots all the
yeah.
time. Well, I don't know what his job is, his occupation, but clearly if he eats organic food on a regular basis,
It's some
must
sort of
he must
hippie.
make some sort of amount of money because that's expensive. Organic food compared
Yeah.
to normal, like processed, maybe less expensive food. That's a lot. And for him to demand that in jail after being involved with the massive scandal that he was involved with is
I just
crazy.
think it's funny, like, you must have no, like, shame in that situation because you already have all this, like, negative press on you. You've kind of become this, um, icon, and you're demanding organic food to the point where it becomes a headline in, like, national papers.
Every newspaper had it. Yeah.
Printed,
The
yeah.
same day.
Yeah, do you wanna talk about that video of him that just got uncovered?
Yeah. So I think that was yesterday or the day before.
Yeah, it
But
was really
but it
recently.
was a body cam footage from one of the police officers that was in the house, like on the floor with those guys that broke in
It
after
looked
they got.
early on in the break-in.
Yeah, I think that
Yeah.
was before like the real fighting and all the cops started filtering in, but it was just two cops and then the horned guy and another. I'm sure maybe they were friends, I'm not sure,
Some
but
sort of
it
QAnon,
was like they were
yeah.
having a slumber party convo in there. Like the cops were telling them, "Yeah, this is like the most sacred place." Like the closed captions were saying what all the cops were saying, and the guys were just chilling in there and taking photos,
Didn't
taking
they say like,
videos.
"Oh, don't worry, we won't do any real damage"?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it was, like, weird. It almost insinuated there was some sort of prior arrangement even. I mean, I don't wanna go that far, but that's kind of the vibe
No,
that was given to me. I don't
it
know.
seemed like how would the cops just be fine with that? He goes, "This is the most sacred place." And then he's just continuing to smile and say like, "Yeah, just
Chill.
like just you're chilling, just let's probably leave soon." Like they were not aggressive whatsoever. And I feel like any semi well-trained cop that would be working in Washington DC, which is supposed to be one of the most secure places in the country,
No.
why would a cop say that
I
like
don't
that?
know. And I still have, like, so many other questions, like, just regarding, like, the whole police situation there. First of all, apparently the Capitol Police requested reinforcements of the National Guard before this event even happened because they knew that there was going to be a protest, and they figured that there would be some sort of agitators within that large a crowd of people.
Okay.
So they were anticipating that this would be violent, and they literally asked Congress for reinforcements several days prior, and Congress denied their request. So you already have that going into it, which I think is weird. Like, if
That's fishy.
yeah, so I don't know.
That's
I still
fishy.
don't know what that's about. And then secondly, there was multiple videos where, I mean, obviously a lot of the officers were doing their job, and I respect them so much. And I mean, some of them even lost their lives. So, I mean, we
Yeah,
really
yeah.
need to honor that for sure. But I did see some footage of the cops opening the barricades for these rioters. And
Mhm.
I was just really confused what
I
was going
know.
on
I saw
there.
that one. I think most people saw that video of the
Yeah.
cops opening the barricades, and I'm sure everybody's confused right now. It's like, okay, we were against the police for a while, and then we're for the police, but then the police let them in, but then we don't know what this body cam footage means, but then the people that broke in were also breaking an insane amount of laws. So yeah, it's so complicated.
Confusing.
Congress denying that as extra aid is concerning because I'm sure they would know that protest that Trump organized was the probably one of the biggest ones throughout the last year. And
Yeah.
I don't think it exceeded the million march,
I have
but
no
I mean
idea.
it was still an insane amount of people.
Yeah.
And the last big march, which was the MAGA Million March,
Mm-hmm.
they had Antifa come in later in the day.
Yeah.
So that
So
that sprawled into violence. So of course it was gonna
Be
turn into violence.
Yeah.
Why would they deny that?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No,
I
I
get a
know.
little
It's
worked
just
up
it's
about it.
nuts. I mean, we've been seeing for the past year or a little less than a year, all these states, including Portland, go be up in flames, all these statues be defaced, all these things. So I don't know what you expected with that many people in DC. Like,
Yeah.
I don't
No,
know.
I know. Yeah,
It's
you're right.
unfortunate, but I just, given the current state of where emotions are right now in this country and how heated everyone felt about the election and how much people felt like there was fraud and that there wasn't enough work on the front end to kind of mitigate that. Like, I understand why the Capitol Police were under the impression that this would become violent even before it even
Yeah.
happened, you know?
Yeah. I've learned from 2020 and even this year so far that you can't really assume anything is just going to be okay. It's I've learned that there is capacity for anything and everything to happen. So I think that a lot of people have learned that too.
Yeah.
So wait, I want to see what you think about what do you think that for the horned guy that everyone knows for sure is going to jail, do you think he's going to spend lifetime in jail? Like, what are the laws?
I don't know. I know that the law is what I know that when Trump was upset about like all those federal buildings and other cities getting defaced, he put together that law, or I think it was a
some legislation saying that you had
executive
to
order for furthest extent to the law prosecute, which I think is 10 years.
Okay.
So I don't know, but if they say it's as far as treason, then it depends on what the crime is that they're charged on. If they're crime with defacing federal building, like breaking and entering, if they're charged with like full on treason, then it's gonna vary the time in jail.
As we could see from the footage of him and the cops just casually talking, he might not be charged with like difficulty with the police because it seemed like they were both on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. So what's interesting is that after this, it kind of pushed Congress and especially Nancy Pelosi to invoke the 25th Amendment or impeach Trump. And I found this really interesting article where it's kind of like Pence and Pelosi going back and forth about why he won't invoke the 25th Amendment, and he basically says that
Why Pence wouldn't?
Yeah, I think Pence was saying that it was because it has to be like you're showing physical
you have to be
deterioration.
It has to be proven that the president in office is incapable of
I'll find the exact
furthering
wording
the
of it.
presidency.
As you know, the 25th Amendment was designed to address the presidential incapacity or disability. So what I think is interesting is that the 25th Amendment could be used for so many people in Congress on both the right and the left because everyone in Congress is so old. Like Mitch McConnell, Dianne
Pelosi is
Feinstein,
about to be 81.
Pelosi, like the list goes on. Like,
no, they all are. You're right. Yeah, I don't know if there's some test that like you take and that proves your mental and physical capability to be in a role like that, but I'm sure if you were to put up at least all the people that are over 75, you start cognitive decline at 70.
Really?
So I don't know who's to determine, they're mentally or physically fit or unfit. Who does that? Are there doctors?
And I'm not saying that they are. I'm just saying like it just feels wrong that we're such a young country, and like why do we have senior citizens running the country? Like we should have people that are young and vital and like represent the next generation of Americans.
Energized, competent, understand the technological revolution maybe a little bit better.
Understand the culture.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even need to be under 40 years old, but 40 to 80?
Yeah.
That's only half.
Yeah.
Think about that.
No, some of these people have been
I'm
in
already
Congress.
terrified of being 40, let alone double 40 to be 80 and then be Speaker of the House. And she's the one putting up impeachment papers saying that such and such is incapable. I get what Pence was doing. I do. Because if we don't uphold that, then we're setting the tone that any further disputes with presidents, it's just an impeachment could be anything other than that. That it could just be, we don't like them.
Yeah, and you don't want like Republicans to then use that against a Democrat later down the road or vice versa. Like, I think that it's really important with all this stuff to think through, like, and that's a problem with politics is that right now I feel like we're not thinking through like the long term.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh,
We're
well,
so focused on, okay, this is an immediate fix and this seems like it would be an ideal fix.
yeah.
And in the short term, it looks great. But then long term, you're causing a lot of damage. So, like that, for this immediate fix right now, an impeachment, I mean, it's already happened now, but when you're setting the tone to a realm that has never, like, we've never been to that situation where we've had to impeach over something that wasn't impeachable over, like, incapacity wise.
Yeah, and I think the same concept that you laid out could be brought up to like what's happening with big tech right now, where people are so excited that certain people are getting censored. And what they don't realize is if Twitter has the power to shut down the president of the United States account, they have the power to shut down anyone. Like, don't think that you're
Yeah.
exempt from that because
It's anyone.
you're following the rules now. Like, the rules now have been shifted. And so
They've been turned upside down.
once they're
Yeah.
turned, it just keeps going into a downhill
Yeah.
spiral, you know?
And now that this stone has been turned, that they have now explored this territory of mass censorship, I don't think that it's really reversible because they were avoiding it for so long because we've always known that, like, we have to uphold freedom of speech, freedom of thought, freedom of expression. And now that the stone has been turned over. So it's going to take a lot to really reinvent and reestablish, okay, we have to have free speech or else I don't even know. It's a
Well-
it's a society that I don't even know.
Do you think that Twitter and Facebook have been strategic and that this is the right time for them to establish their control in speech? Because now they're comforted by the fact that, we had 4 years to to reverse section 230, and now because that didn't get done, they're like, oh, we're secure now, so we're fine rolling out all
That
this
makes sense.
censorship stuff. Like, do you think that they finally feel, or do you think that's premature and that they're not
I mean, I think that
seeing
this
it
is something
all-
they've wanted to do for a while. I
Yeah.
don't know if they were able to see into the future and try to strategize based off of how the election was going to go because no one would have been able to know for sure. But yeah, I think that's totally right. Once they saw, okay, this presidency is up, and now we have a new president-elect coming in who, yeah, I'm not afraid to say it, probably falls more in line with at least some of these CEOs' beliefs. I've heard them speak dozens of times. So
Well, I think they know that they're protected.
yeah,
Yeah, they don't have.
I don't think the Biden and Harris administration is going to roll out anything like that.
Yeah, but I don't think what people realize is like you're protected until you're not protected, and even like the president of Mexico, who's very far left, and I don't know if it's called the chancellor or the prime minister of Germany, whoever's the leader there.
Prime Minister.
Prime Minister of Germany, also who's very far left, said, this is not good. In our country, we will not be having this precedent of Twitter, Facebook having more power than an individual country. And I think that
Yeah.
it's interesting to see that even politicians on the far left from other countries recognize that this is really bad and this is a slippery slope for them being censored one day,
No, the U.S., a lot of countries look to the U.S. and we set the tone in a lot of different realms. And especially with our technology and these social media platforms that we have, we sort of pioneered it. Like, I mean, and China has their own versions and stuff, but they look to us and they see, okay, so if these trends are being set and they like that, then it's going to become more adopted in other parts of the world too. So, in a way, I think it's kind of cool, and I like that other countries are watching over what we do. But it also puts a lot of pressure because we need to make sure that but what's the right thing? It goes into morality, and you don't know. But
do you think, okay, why don't you explain to people who might not know the difference between like a publisher and a platform and kind of why the argument that Twitter and Facebook are free or
Our
our
platforms.
platforms right now, and that's why they can't. It's really bad that they're using the argument, "Oh, we're a private company, therefore we can do whatever we want." Can you
Yeah.
kind of break down that
Well,
position?
publishers and platforms are both normally private companies,
Yeah.
but the difference is a platform typically allows for free range of whatever gets posted or uploaded. It's untouchable,
Mhm.
but then publishers are able to cater what they want. Like, say, a book publishing company, for instance, they can decide, oh, we want to publish your book, so we're going to do that. We don't like the theme in your book, so this might not fit with us, and you can go find another publisher. But a platform does not have that nature. And so I feel like the integrity has been lost from especially Twitter, Facebook, which is Instagram too, to consider themselves platforms
Mhm.
anymore, because they're publishers. They're picking and choosing what stays up, what accounts stay up, and they're censoring. And what are those called?
Tagging.
They're tagging little warnings,
Yeah,
and
the
all
funniest
of
one I
that is
saw
so
was
catered. There are many people behind the scenes running that.
yeah, the funniest one I saw was like a manipulated media, and it was someone literally just making a joke about a clip that Biden did where he forgot where he was. I mean, like any comedian could make that joke without trying to be political. Like it's just kind of funny,
Yeah.
and that we had no one better to elect but that. And it's funny because Twitter adds manipulated media as a tag now for that. And I'm like, it's a joke. Like, we're not, no one's giving any false information. Like, this is literally a clip that was
Yeah,
taken from a speech
you're
and
completely
someone
right.
made a joke. Like, they're not trying to be rude to President elect Biden or anything. Like,
Mhm.
they're just,
No, I
yeah.
mean, there's such thing as humor. Humor and comedy is another thing we've lost in recent years because, yeah, Twitter is full of memes. Like sometimes people just say things and they say it doesn't always need to be attached with a warning label to tell people what to think. Like if in a way, isn't that sort of what their intention is to so whatever thoughts you get from seeing the initial tweet, is the warning supposed to contradict them, or
I don't know.
is the warning supposed to top it off, like the cherry on top? Oh, okay, but just make sure you know that this is manipulated media.
I have no idea. And what's funny is that maybe some people, like, probably a decent amount of people see that and they're like they actually believe, oh gosh, this is manipulated media. But I think a lot of people who actually read things and kind of think for themselves and practice skepticism, like I now look at a flag and I'm like,
What does that mean?
now I'm like, I probably believe the opposite of what you're telling me
Yeah,
because
same.
I've lost your trust, and you're now positioned yourself as a company where you are having the benefits of both being a platform and a publisher. You don't get sued because of Section 230 that protects you as a platform, but you get to be a publisher where you get to choose your content. And
Hmm.
therefore, you've lost my trust. So now when I see your tags, I'm going to
Yeah,
think the opposite.
I'm instantly gonna look at that and go, okay, yeah, I'm gonna think, the
Exactly the
exact opposite of what
You're,
you're trying to dispute to me.
yeah. And I mean, maybe you're right in that scenario. Like, I'm sure a percentage of your tags could be accurate, but now we don't have trust, so I can't
Yeah.
even.
I mean, I can handle dealing with the tags. If I could put a hierarchy of what concerns me the most, that's probably more towards the bottom right
Yeah.
now, although there's a lot of issues. The absolute top for me is them deciding who can and cannot be on the platform if they're still considering themselves a platform, because I just think that's so scary, because this is the 21st century. We have established our new forms of having a town square. And
Mhm.
I think that being at risk of losing your voice in that town square is very scary and intimidating, because what if I just happen to retweet something that maybe the people behind the scenes at Twitter didn't like, and then they're like, yeah, I don't like this girl, she's going to be blocked, and we're going to keep a tab on her if she tries to make a new account,
Yeah.
and yeah, retweet more things. So that scares me, because especially with the pandemic, a lot of our communication is now completely digital. So we're not going to stadiums and meeting new, I mean, even companies are looking at people's social media platforms to see what their personal lives are like outside of like just their resume or their
Yeah.
professional setting. So yeah, these are I don't know if I'd call them utilities. These aren't
Yeah.
needs, these aren't necessities, but it's a very popular form of modern communication, and I think it's scary that that turn has been flipped over, that
Yeah.
now they've explored the territory.
Mhm.
So I don't see it stopping anytime soon. I think it's going to continue until I don't know.
I'm most scared about getting kicked off of Airbnb. I will say this.
Okay.
No, this is
that's
it.
a good
So, Tim Dillon, who I mentioned earlier, one of my favorite comedians right now, he got kicked out of Airbnb because of a free speech issue where, he wrote a negative. He got a negative review because he cooked beans in these lesbian couples like apartment or not.
he
They're like
cooked beans.
yeah, so
like,
he was in Joshua. So what he does to get like he lives in LA right now and it's locked down. And he said that comedians like they need to get their material from experiences. So he'll go and rent an Airbnb for the weekend, like in a different place. So he went to Joshua Tree, and him and his friend, who's like his producer, stayed there at this house, and it was very like kind of like fake artsy, like lots of
Okay.
Native American decorations and kind of
Okay.
like like kind of bougie bohemian vibes.
I can visualize it. Yeah.
Mhm. So he was just
Wait,
like,
I wouldn't target him as liking that, but
no, he got finessed into it because he saw the tag was luxury, so he thought like mainstream luxury, and then he
like
goes
clean,
yeah, yeah.
modern.
So then he's telling the story and how like he gets finessed in, and there's like all this like furniture for super thin people, and he's kind of like a bigger dude, and how he can't fit on any of it, and how like I don't know, he just takes apart the whole thing. It all stems because they wrote him a nasty review for cooking beans, and he wrote them a nasty
Why
review.
beans? That's
I don't
so
know.
gross.
Everything people are saying about me isn't true. I'm an actor. I'm a voice actor. I'm a musician. Stop the steal. What people saw yesterday was me doing vocal exercises, me just kind of, putting myself out there for the first time. The industry just doesn't want a white male unless they're literally storming the Capitol. Obviously save the children and do a coup. But also, as important or even more important is to just try to build my socials.
I cannot tell you last time I was say like intoxicated or something and was just like, I'm gonna make beans.
I don't know.
I don't even like beans.
Neither do I. But okay, like it's a normal thing. And so he cooks beans and he leaves the dishes in the sink.
Oh, that's gross.
But you have a $400 cleaning fee. Like remember
where
like,
did the cleaners not clean it up?
I don't know. So anyways, they get into this whole thing and he ends up getting kicked off Airbnb because the women then claim that he invoked violence on them because he then uses his like podcast platform to do a whole episode on like shitting on these women.
So that was verbal violence towards them.
Yeah, and so it
Okay.
made me realize like sorry, this is a tangent, but it made me realize like I am terrified of getting kicked off of Airbnb because I want to eventually make money on Airbnb. Like I want to buy properties.
You could
and
do
then
that.
So I think that would scare me the most. And Airbnb is totally bought into the censorship stuff. Like for example, for the inauguration, they canceled all
of their
Airbnbs. In California. For the pandemic in certain parts, they like, I remember when we were going to Big Sur, they said like, oh, you have to stay here for multiple nights. Oh, you can only have X amount of people, even if your house is like a big house. Like, yeah. And that one like freaks me out.
What if you were a landlord?
Yeah.
To a house that you wanted to have it be rented out in Washington D.C. Then Airbnb is overriding them,
Yeah.
saying, "Yeah, sorry, you're not going to make money this weekend," because they make a portion for sure.
And we talk about why, like, I get we're in a pandemic, but I feel like it's very strange that, like, I'm kind of sad that the inauguration's online this year because I just have seen the photos of the Capitol and, like, it just is very depressing with all of the fencing and walls that have gotten put up. And, like, there's more troops there. Like, there's more guns in D.C. right now with federal troops than there are in Afghanistan,
There's 40,000 troops in DC right now.
which is insane.
And we're recording this before Inauguration Day, so this will be hopefully up before then too. But basically, that's going to be this whole week. I would be terrified if I lived there, even in Maryland. Why do they have that many officers there? And of all different domains too.
I don't know.
Guess we'll have to see.
We'll have to see what
I wanted to
happens.
say though about the Airbnb thing with Tim is like that was such a bipartisan, not even a political affiliation at all. Yet just because the woman like cried wolf and said that he was being violent, then he got.
And they're probably just upset because he gave him a negative Airbnb review back. Like, you know, he's like, oh, if you give me one, I'm going to give it to you.
Wow. I really like that idea though of just, yeah, you could make a ton of money doing that.
And it's funny because he was like, well, I'm just going to have my friend rent that same Airbnb and then we're going to do a podcast.
Okay. I like that they're like out in the field just doing weird stuff and then they have so much to talk about.
Yeah.
That's so fun. One thing though I wanted to say about the online inauguration is I don't know if you guys remember the DNC and RNC, but Ella and I watched both. And even then, which that was a lot earlier in the pandemic a few months ago, but I've just seen such a trend of everything being more and more robotic.
Yeah.
And something with Inauguration Day, if you've ever seen any video clips of the oath or the crowds,
Or the parade.
It's not. It's the inauguration isn't just for the president and the vice president or even the transition. It is people go to that event and they feel that they're a part of it and can see that with their own eyes. That's a privilege to be able to do that because most people don't see in real life the president of the United States ever. And the inauguration day, normally that's open for all of DC. They open the whole
mall.
And
it's supposed to be like, you know, you're connecting with the people, you're there with their energy. Like, even if you're all the way far back, like, there is something special about that.
Yeah.
I remember when I went to, I toured the White House, and all of a sudden, halfway through my tour, they go, oh, President Obama is going in his helicopter to go to
the Capitol.
To Mexico. Yeah, he was going to Mexico. Yeah, it was at the White House. And it was so cool to be able to go on the White House lawn. Obama walked past and he waved at us. He got in the helicopter. He did his thing. And I there is that relationship there because that is what democracy is about. Like, this is the person that is representing us to other countries. And, you know, whether you're Republican or Democrat and whoever the president is, like, just being able to partake in that, I think is critical for that relationship to still feel
I agree.
you know?
I agree. And from what we've seen with just the media and Zoom calls is a lot of times, these political figures go on and they read off a teleprompter. And I don't want this inauguration on Wednesday to be some super hyper scripted teleprompter extravaganza where everything's so robotic that you're like, I'm watching pixels on a screen and they might even be pixels in real life.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean,
Yeah.
I've never seen them in person, so it's,
I mean, not to like keep talking about the Capitol, but I did find this really funny article on the Business Insider, and it's the headline is Bumble removed its political filter after people said they used it to lure conservatives who were at the Capitol riot into sending incriminating evidence. So basically what happened was Bumble had like, I don't know if you've ever signed up for a dating app, but like you can put your political filter or you can
Affiliation.
say like, there's all sorts of questions. Like they'll ask you if you are looking for kids. And that one always trips me up because I'm like, well, it's not like I never want to have kids, but I don't have any plans to have kids in the next like near future. You know what I mean? Like, so how do you
should be able to get rid of certain filters if you just don't even want it to show up.
Yeah,
It doesn't
and
only
there's
have
like
to be a yes or no.
There's like a religious one, like it's pretty funny. I think there's even a height filter.
I think
Well, is that discrimination?
I've never seen Bumble. Yeah. Heightest.
Heightest.
Waitest. There's like all these different things now where you could, just because you're anti-smoking, that you're...
Yeah, they ask about like drinking and smoking too, which, I mean, I don't know if that's considered a
They ask your religion. No, I don't think so. Because that's just a thing you consume, right?
Yeah.
Drinking or smoking.
Yeah.
Or normally it has like a a weed leaf.
Yes.
And maybe that just is like all drugs.
Again, but I don't like, yeah, it's like, do you do drugs? And it's like, well, like some people don't do all drugs, so I don't know.
Yeah, you don't only have to say yes or no. Maybe you could just say, don't show it on my profile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what happened was people on Bumble were basically trying to be like their own detective, which is pretty funny. So they would say that they were conservatives, and then they were trying to lure people in to see if they were the Capitol riot people.
Okay, I see what
know.
you're saying. So then Bumble just thought
I don't
it
know
was...
how successful. Yeah, Bumble was just like, we don't want to deal with that.
So I wanted to bring up something because I think this sort of goes in line with the censorship stuff that we've been talking about, but I also would love to maybe transition away from it soon too.
Yeah.
So I've seen a lot of tweets saying, don't like it, build your own.
Yeah.
Okay. That seems like a good rebuttal to maybe say conservatives right now who are pissed off that certain people have been deplatformed. Is that a good solution? Is having separate everything a good solution? Or is unity, the word that has been thrown around a lot recently, should we try to merge? And were these mergers, but now they're splitting up?
I don't even know if you can successfully. I think the argument like, oh, Twitter's a private company, build your own, like that was fair maybe 2 years ago, but now we've gotten to the point where that's not the case. The CEO of Parler, which is basically a right version of Twitter, the CEO is in hiding right now because he has gotten death threats, and his app got taken off the Apple Store, the Google Store, the Amazon, whatever. So yes, that argument in theory would work, but if we have become, which 2020 has pushed us further and further, becoming dependent on technology to exist in the world,
in the digital realm.
Yeah, and you can't really how far do you want to push it? Like if Stripe doesn't allow you to have transaction for your business, if you aren't allowed to be on Airbnb, like suddenly then you would have a property you can't monetize. Like like if your whole income is dependent on YouTube and then you get deplatformed or demonetized. Like,
same with, say, Uber, for example. If they didn't want to pick you up because you lived in a certain county or because you had a certain flag in your front yard or something, then they would, I don't know. Or
yeah,
what
then do you start like, do those people like, does that increase?
It's the world.
It's
the world closing opportunities.
Yeah.
Because of whatever political belief system you might have. And I just think that's so scary because I don't want to have separate everything. I think, yeah, you're right. The past year or so, especially with the pandemic, we're so much more polarized. So this is only making it worse.
And it only
if
pushes...
everything's separate and you're not being exposed to people with different ways of thinking than you, then you'll never learn more about yourself or how to keep refining your beliefs. Like, I think that's a practice that is eternal throughout your whole life. It's never, you never hit one day where you're like, okay, this is what I think and that's it. It's a constant growth. So having that exposure to all people from all walks of life is actually really beneficial in a lot of ways, as long as you stay true to, like, good values, your values. And I don't know. I'm scared a little bit.
Yeah, I am. And I think that, like, when I downloaded Parler several months ago, and I still haven't posted anything or retweeted anything, but I did download it, and I immediately felt like, okay, this is a right-wing echo chamber, and maybe for some people that's what they're interested in, but for me, I like Twitter because I follow a wide range of people from
users,
all different walks of life and all different perspectives, like even people I don't agree with. And so I like that because I love seeing all the different people's opinions on like their thoughts on like the Capitol riot or their thoughts on censorship, because it allows me to see the contradictions and like form my own opinion. And I think that what you're saying, like if we all like just Twitter was completely left and Parler was completely right and you just had to pick one, that's so
division.
Unhealthy. Yeah.
Yeah. And say you did pick Twitter, but then they got rid of you. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah, it could get interesting. But I agree. I don't think I've ever unfollowed a single person just because I saw that they posted something that I didn't resonate with. I don't think I've
Yeah.
ever done that. And I would encourage people not to do that because it's really easy to, because you feel compelled. Oh, I don't like that person anymore. I don't even talk to them, and they don't even agree with me. But that's not good character building. And yeah, you mature, you learn. Okay, just because they might have different opinions than me, I still have mine. It doesn't. Yeah, what they post has nothing to do with what you think.
Well, so we were so young, but when like 20 years ago, politics was not as big of a deal. It wasn't as divisive. Like people were chill with you.
Yeah.
We've regressed. We really have. Like in 2000, 7-Eleven had two different cups. They had a Bush and an Al Gore cup, and like people went in on election day, and whoever they voted for, they got their 7-Eleven drink or coffee in that cup. Do you think that could happen nowadays? Do you think in 2020 when we had our election we could successfully have like Biden or Trump ones without
7-Eleven
people
slushy day.
literally like being mad at their
They'd be
fellow
pissed.
coworker?
Yeah.
Like that was probably the last year that we could do something like that. And it's really unfortunate because politics shouldn't have that big of a part in our life. And I think that it's become like, it's weird to see people our age like be so obsessed with politics to the point where it feels like they are invested in it as much as like following like the entertainment industry or following sports. Like it's become so trendy and so competition based, and maybe it's
That's
because
it. It's become trendy. That's
Yeah.
why now so many more young people than in previous generations have come on to the trend.
yeah,
It's
and it's weird because
it's
like
everywhere.
like I just don't think that like it's would be weird to me if all of us were either just 100% left or 100% right. Like I just that doesn't make sense to me. I think that people are way more multifaceted and way more complex than just being able to like subscribe to a platform's position. And also what people don't realize is that platforms like the right and the left, like their platforms have evolved a lot too, and they're constantly
Yeah.
changing.
Yeah.
Like, so
Yeah, there's not like a set of scripture, a Bible for each that
Like,
you read through. It's not an instruction manual.
It hasn't been the same. It's constantly shifted, you know? So for you to be like, I am now a Republican at age 18 and I'll be a Republican till the day I die, like the Republican Party in 100 years or 60 years is going to look a lot different than it does today. So
Yeah,
how
you're
can
right.
you be that forward thinking, you know?
Yeah, well, even with religions, like I grew up Christian, and I understand that most religions have some sort of sacred text that they follow and look to. But for most people, you kind of use it as a guide, a reference point.
Yeah.
But then I think that it is still ethical to maneuver yourself and your beliefs like around it,
Yeah.
like certain things that might not seem like it would fit for you, work for you. It still allows you to be spiritual. You're just not following a set of rules per se. So yeah, political parties are like that too. The left and the right don't have it. Most people, I think, are somewhere in between on the spectrum. Therefore, having very specific platforms and areas for people to interact that aren't on the spectrum,
Yeah.
that are dichotomous, I don't know if that would actually cater to us that well. So yeah, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, something
That's
else.
scary about the Parler CEO though, because if the response to the statement of "don't like it, build your own," that they built their own, and you're still having to fight so hard, you're hiding for your life.
His children are hiding.
Oh
It's
my
horrible.
gosh, that's so chilling. I don't
Yeah.
like that.
No, it's really scary.
I wouldn't wish that on anyone, no matter what.
And he's a
side.
smart guy, so I feel like the death threats must be pretty serious if it's forcing him to go
Yeah,
into
I saw him
hiding.
speak like just a few days ago. So yeah, he's been
Must be recent.
under
yeah.
the radar definitely for
Yeah.
the past couple days.
So another thing that I wanted to bring up was this. I think this came out today. German quarantine breakers are now held in refugee detention centers. And this is really scary because first of all, this is funny because, well, okay, it's not funny, but it's
Not funny.
it's Germany. So I just think that they should be a little hesitant about promoting refugee camps, considering
The
the Holocaust and their like responsibility for 60 million Jewish people being murdered in a genocide. So I just think that they should probably maybe like fix the PR around this. I don't know. It just seems like a really bad country to be promoting this given their history. And what freaks me out about this is that I just sent you that trailer for that film about like
Songbird.
yes.
Yeah.
And this article,
Dude, we should watch that together.
I need to be in the right headspace for
Yeah.
that.
No, that's like gonna be. It's kind of. I'm getting Purge vibes a little bit.
Yeah,
from the trailer.
Did you had you heard about that film?
I saw an article, and one of the KJ Appa, who's the main guy actor. I always thought he was really cute, so I have him on Instagram. So he was promoting it, but I didn't know until the trailer that it was going to be as intense as it looks. And also
of course it's in
Songbird.
LA.
What does Songbird mean?
know.
I would love to find that out too.
It sounded very like Songbird gives me like Hunger Game vibes almost.
Yeah.
But it's also ironic that it's set in LA because I feel like Blade Runner, I don't know, like any sort of like
It's a good
doomsday
dystopian setting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's out, right? We could watch it?
We could watch it.
Okay.
We should watch it.
I know. Well, it's just, I don't think that could have been, if they released that 7 months ago when the heat of the pandemic was going on and we were all still like adjusting,
We would have been
I don't
freaked
think that movie would have sat right with people. I think people would have been pissed. But now that I think it's become more of our norm and we're used to it, people can watch it and sort of really take it in and not be upset.
Do you think it will have like a Black Mirror kind of effect to people? Like I feel like whenever I watch a Black Mirror episode, I'm like, oh, this is so close to reality. I better be careful that doesn't happen and be mindful. Do you think that it has that effect, especially with this article that I brought up about the German quarantine refugee camps? Yeah.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I think something that Black Mirror really succeeds at is choosing ideas that are so close to being possible that you can really wrap your head around it. It's not like a horror movie where if you've never been haunted, it's not going to hit you as hard because you don't have that association as much. So I think Songbird, just because we're all it's exaggerating the society that we have right now. I think that's what the film is.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And I'm just happy to get some new content because there's been no new.
I've been rewatching stuff.
Wait, so I'm taking a class for this month for school, and we did a case study the other day on Angela Merkel, who's the Chancellor of Germany.
Oh, so it's Chancellor.
I think it is Chancellor, but we kind of dug into her and watched all these clips about her and talk about robots. She seems like a little bit of a robot.
Really?
Like I'm trying not to be ageist, but she's very old.
Yeah.
And
Is she a globalist?
I think she is a little bit of a globalist, yeah. But I haven't done enough research. I just thought that was interesting that we learned about that the other day.
Yeah, because we just brought that up.
That Germany is kind of coming into our discussions over here too.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can pull a good quote from this.
And
so basically, so Germany Germans who repeatedly refused to quarantine after being exposed to COVID-19 will be held in detention centers, even under police guard, according to reports.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So,
I wonder what the German media is saying about that.
Experiencing one of the worst outbreaks in the European nation, has already approved plans to hold quarantine breakers in a fenced-off section of a refugee camp, according to The Telegraph, which is a British news group. That's actually
so
pretty
scary.
modern. I like The Telegraph a lot.
Do you think that? Do you believe that Do you believe that there's like a ton of different strains going on right now?
I mean, I know about the UK strain.
I've heard that it's more severe, although I don't know if we have enough info over
Yeah,
here
I
yet.
think that, I mean, this is a real thing. I think that people got their hopes up about the vaccine, and I actually wanted to bring up like a few articles that I found on that. But I think that the vaccine isn't going to be, it's not 100% accurate. It's going to be like a flu shot where, you know, you get it every year and
Yeah.
it's constantly mutating, and you could still get the flu shot and get the flu. I know many
There's
people.
different strains that are
Yeah.
going around every year.
Or like with the flu shot, you can get a lot of like flu-like symptoms after it, like kind of in a reaction, and that's been happening with the COVID vaccine. I'm interested to see what happens with the Johnson and Johnson vaccine that gets released, because apparently that is a more traditional vaccine that doesn't use mRNA, but is like kind of
Yeah.
more traditional. It's only one dose and it's more effective. But I think that we were really naive to think that the vaccine was going to solve all of our problems, and I think that as individuals, this should push us to fight even more to return to normalcy. And not to do a plug, but I'm going to do a plug. I just did an entry on that, so check it out
Yes.
on our website.
Yeah, it just got uploaded today.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
very current.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's great that we have the vaccine right now. I think it's great that people are starting to get it. I don't think I've seen any change in our morale yet. I
Or
don't think
behavior, like
I
it's
don't.
strange.
I think that we kind of thought that, oh, the day that the companies are really gonna start shipping them and getting them into the hospitals and stuff, that was when we would really start to feel relieved. But I haven't noticed that in people, and I don't really see any changes with. I mean, you're still having masks everywhere. Masks are required at walking into places. It didn't get rid of the masks. Didn't get rid of certain places that have been closed down. So I don't know when that's going to happen. When do you think that that's?
I was going to ask you that question. Like, at what point do you think that we're just going to be like, just like, or an authority figure will just be like, oh, it's time to, the mask can finally be thrown out? I just don't know when that point is now.
I think I would dream for one day where someone could really make it a specific date, and then we would all just be like, okay, I have faith in it, and we'll just do that and be good. But from what we've seen, that doesn't work, and it's probably just going to have to run its course. And with so many people, such as not only in the country but in the whole world, we have to all sort of be on the same page, and that's so hard when we're so polarized right now. And as much as people would say the pandemic isn't political, it has become 100% political in some respects. So I just want everyone to be healthy. I want people to be proactive, not reactive. I want people to start thinking about these things. Oh yeah, the fact that I'm going to have to get another vaccine probably next year. What company's the best? When's the right time? Analyze all these environmental forces.
It's like, if I not give in, but if I decide to have the vaccine, then am I allowed to take off my mask? Then am I allowed to go to a club?
I don't know.
Like,
yeah.
you know, like you need it. Like, do not wait for the authority figure to tell you what the next step is, because they don't know what they're doing. Like, I was talking to my big who lives in we live in California, but she's like a full-time resident there, and she told me that in the Bay Area her boyfriend's an EMT, and they had to throw away hundreds of doses of the vaccine because their government hasn't been effective enough to roll it out. And I don't know how it's like in all the states, but I know that like Florida's done a really, really good job because they've decentralized it, where they've let the hospitals handle it, because the hospitals and healthcare providers
have the infrastructure set up to organize
the
all.
vaccine. Yeah, like they do it for the flu all the time. So I think that when you give the control, like, we're really naive to think that government officials are businessmen, they're health experts, they're massive infrastructure
They're just jacks of all
planners.
trades.
Yeah,
There's
like,
no way.
No, like, no. Like, this is probably someone who grew up from a well-established family that has just kind of positioned themselves into this role and has just kind of, who knows what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like, it's being something like rolling out the vaccine has so many different implications. Like, it's not like one person of a state can handle all of that
Agreed,
and do
yeah.
it effectively.
And even say Dr. Fauci, for example, he's an epidemiologist. Epidemiologists are not overall healthcare, general healthcare physicians. They study how viruses travel in numbers through large amounts of people. It's a lot more mathematical. It's not surgeons, it's not nurses, it's not like pediatricians or whatever. So maybe listen more to the hematologists, which are the blood doctors, the ones providing the vaccine, the ones who study how exactly certain formulations of vaccines can work better with different blood types. Like I have heard blood type is hugely important to understand with this whole virus, because it depends how the virus attaches to blood. It differs based off of certain blood types and certain immuno of like deficiencies or whatever. So yeah, everyone I see all the time, Dr. Fauci, oh, Dr. Fauci said this, Dr. Fauci said that, but he is studying how it spreads across people and the numbers of it and the growth. He's not studying how exactly it affects people's blood. He's not studying how exactly what's the most efficient way to provide the vaccine. He's not in that realm. So just because he is a doctor doesn't mean he understands every domain of healthcare.
Yes.
Sorry.
No,
slight
you're
rant.
good. But you know what? Two things. First of all, we're gonna have a doctor in the White House. Just thought I should say that. Dr.
Oh,
Joe
yeah.
Biden.
You're right.
Dr. Joe Biden. Sorry, I just had to
You know
throw
what's
that
funny?
joke in
Jill
there.
and Joe sound so. It's like the same thing, kind of. Like if you said Jill really fast, it sounds like Joe.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know how accurate this is. I just think this is kind of a funny anecdote. But apparently, the reason why she got her PhD, or actually, I don't know if she has a PhD or it's like an education version of a PhD. I forget the title for it. But she got that degree because apparently she was upset with the fact that the mail was getting addressed to Senator and Mrs. Joe Biden, and I just think like, I mean, it's kind of it's
Doctor.
It's really fun. It's funny, but it's also
Yeah.
like, I mean, good for her that was her motivator, I guess. But it's just kind of.
I mean, she voiced her opinion for sure. I don't know what the qualifications are. I don't have a title like that, so I don't understand how important it is to always be referred to as your title being doctor.
Yeah.
But I would assume that there's some doctors on this planet that it's not the end of the world if it's not officiated in every single documentation with your name on it.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
because it's still your identity. It doesn't.
Yeah, I just think it was funny I think it's funny that both sides like there was like a 2-day period on Twitter where like it was a full-on war zone, and I don't really care one way or the other. I think that if someone asked me to refer to them as a certain title, like I'm more than happy to do that out of
exactly.
respect. But I just think it's funny.
I think so
but the
too.
second thing I want to say is that Fauci, yes, he's a doctor, and we should be weighing in his opinion, but he's not the only
Healthcare expert.
yeah, and not like he's not the only like disease expert. I mean, there's been a ton of these doctors that have put out, like, remember that petition I sent you of all of those healthcare providers and doctors that basically said like at this point the lockdowns are worse than the
Than the actual health,
than the health benefits because they're leading
than herd
to
immunity
Yeah.
being out in the open.
Yeah, they were basically saying that the lockdowns don't prevent the virus from spreading, and that that it's leading to increased deaths of despair, which is like suicide, overdose.
Yeah, you're
that sort of
trading
thing.
deaths for deaths.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
Yeah, it's a give and take. You're going to prevent a certain type of death, but then you're going to have deaths in other areas that are completely unrelated to that main catalyst of death.
And what's interesting is that in 2020, we actually had less deaths overall than 2019. So I know that like
That is a massively important stat.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And I do think that a lot of the deaths, I mean, got recategorized because, I mean, this is just from like anecdotal evidence, but so I mean, I can't fully speak on it, but I have heard from multiple people that either like I directly have heard about their story of a family member who died and their death got reclassified to COVID when it wasn't COVID, or I've heard friends of friends that have shared stories. So it's like I'm a little suspicious about like the classification of the
I am
deaths,
too.
you know?
Yeah,
So-
rhetorically, if you got bit by a shark, they probably would have labeled you as a COVID death
If you also tested for
if
COVID.
you just happened to have tested positive. So there's a little bit of discrepancy there.
So yeah, I'm just saying like, no, I'm not saying to be a conspiracy theorist, but I am saying like when you turn on the news and you see the death toll, like don't be in despair, because we actually had less deaths overall, and as unfortunate as this year has been, like we're gonna get through it.
And I do think that people are learning more about health. This kind of forced people to, especially people that maybe were overweight, not taking care of themselves. Yeah, exactly. Frat boys. It's making
the dorms.
It's forcing them to be more mindful. I don't know how we survived that. How did I survive that? How did you survive that? I don't even know. How did anyone in college, like in the past 2 decades, go through the dorms and survive?
There's worse problems.
They had its own COVID in those places.
Yeah, Jordan and I might not have gotten COVID, but freshman year we were on our deathbeds for mold exposure.
Yeah. And in totally different ways too, which is actually a testament to how this works with viruses.
In your body.
Everybody gets affected in different ways. Okay, I have one thing. I don't know what more you wanted to bring up, but this tweet from Governor Cuomo, I think that this is important to unravel. So we can. Ella, I know you saw this, but I want to read this off. Governor Cuomo tweeted this a couple days ago. He said, we simply cannot stay closed until the vaccine hits critical mass. The cost is too high. We will have nothing left to open. We must reopen the economy, but we must do it smartly and safely. So I find this extremely confusing that he wrote that, because he has been one of the biggest proponents of staying locked down out of most politicians in public office right now throughout the past year. Besides Newsom and besides a few other governors and state legislators. So I was shocked to see this. I think that it's extremely ironic, and it's also pretty coincidental with the timely success of getting Trump out of office, as I'm sure he has voiced that he wanted him out of office. So, you know what? I'm not going to hide that I don't like this. I think that it's extremely hypocritical. I don't understand how you can tweet for months about encouraging lockdowns and wanting lockdowns and wanting the stuff that happened, and then post this and just say, okay, we're done now.
Yeah.
There's so much political bias behind that, and I just wish that people could see through it. So
I would have preferred if Governor Meatball, that's his name, because I can say that because I'm Italian and he's Italian, so it's not offensive.
Okay.
So I want to know, I would have preferred, okay, if he's going to be this ironic and changing the boat, okay, everyone is welcome to have a change of heart. I'm not going to deny that. But I would prefer more than just a one-line tweet about it. I would prefer him to give some sort of video messaging where he maybe apologizes for locking down for so long and destroying so many businesses.
Take some accountability. Okay, maybe we should have tried another approach, or maybe we should have opened up earlier.
Just give some more context to it.
Yeah, I agree. More
that tweet was just very okay,
it was so out of the blue.
The
Capitol just got completely uprooted. We haven't even had the inauguration yet, and he just had an epiphany maybe, and he was like,
It's funny because his book already has sold a lot of copies about how he handled the pandemic, and I think it's funny that he's still in the process of figuring out how to handle the pandemic.
I think he's been very distracted by so many people praising him for how he handled the pandemic that he hasn't even had time to look at his timeline of I don't want to single him out too much, but I just thought that tweet was good to bring to attention.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because him and Mayor de Blasio have a lot of internal conflict, and Mayor de Blasio hasn't done a great job either. I might dislike him even more because he literally on New Year's Eve, when usually New York is the capital of New Year's Eve with the ball dropping and all the people in the streets. And again, we just talked about the inauguration, that is something where we all can.
It's a cultural
experience that we just don't have access to anymore. And here he is as an elite person with his wife getting to dance in an empty New York Times with security. And I'm like, that's not really fair. Well, everyone else
Yeah.
has to watch it inside by themselves.
Yeah, and
isolated in their
exploiting it, shoving it in people's faces. Like, oh, I got to do that,
Yeah,
this, but you
like,
didn't get to do anything.
I'm just not about that. Like, keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I want to preserve these cities. And something that I also think would be capable for New York is, okay, a massive area of revenue for most businesses in New York is tourists who come over. So they want to do touristy things. I don't see why they couldn't open Broadway or why they couldn't have some shows or do
With
some
social
tours.
distancing,
Yeah, they can just, maybe it's half capacity and they're putting in seats in the middle. But if we want people to come over here and not be afraid and get excited to do things that are those cultural experiences, then yeah, we need to open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there is a no, I won't even bring that up.
What? Too controversial.
Yeah, I'll save it for next time, maybe. Alrighty. Well, is there anything else we wanted to touch on? I think
was
that's
actually it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is really, really important because we need your
really
support.
important.
And our YouTube channel is very new. We've obviously had the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all of that for
Just
over
audio.
a year, but YouTube is new. We want you guys to get notified when new episodes come out. So.
Yeah, YouTube is where it's at because we're here.
You can see
You
us.
can see us.
You get
It's
the vibe.
more.
Yeah.
Studies show that for a lot of people, you're visual learners, so being able to see someone speak,
Yeah.
it could be
So
more
we'd love
effective.
your support.
Yeah. So, thank you guys so much for listening.
Bye.
I don't know if this was a rant, but
It was
just a little walkthrough of some stuff, and we will. Yeah, we'll be back soon.
soon.
Yeah, very excited.
Yay.
All right, thanks, guys.
Bye.